Hey there, and welcome to tutorial 2 of how to model in Maya. So, last episode we learned how to pan around, zoom in and out, rotate, and we learned to set it to modeling and modeling standard. So, now how do we actually make a model? So, if you look in the top left up here, we have a sphere, a cube, cylinder, cone, torus, plane. So you basically, these are the primitive shapes. So let me create a sphere for you. So this is a sphere. So this is what you get. If you look at the right over here, this is the parameters we can use to modify and move the sphere. So translate X translates along the X-axis. Translate Y, Y-axis, etc., Z-axis. This is X, Y, Z, with Y being the vertical. X and Y being the two on this plane we see here. Then we have rotate X, which you can't really see. So let's do scale first. So scale X, we're going to do this. We're going to make an oval. And we're going to do the Y, we're going to do 2 for this. So if we rotate around using Alt and left click, we have this weird kind of flat shape here. Looks kind of trippy. And so now if we rotate X, it's going to rotate along the X-axis, which is that red axis. Rotate Y, which is the vertical one, or the yellow one. Yellow because it's selected. I believe it's normally green, but so now we're rotating along that axis. Now along the Z-axis, we can rotate with that. So it's very cool. Now let me just delete this and make a new one. A better way to do this is to use these 3 items on the left over here. We have this one is to move the move tool. So if you do the move tool, then you click the select tool. Well, first click the select tool, select your sphere, then do the move tool, and then you can move up and down this way and this way. You can also select these planes to move it along a certain plane. So this moves it fixed in plane here. You see it's holding Z fixed in the translate Z, and this holds X fixed. So let me just zero it out here. So that's how you make a sphere and move it. So using the rotate tool, we can now do the same thing. We can rotate along every axis. And using the scale tool, we can now scale it on any axis. So stretch it like this, stretch it like this. The middle cube here scales the whole thing uniformly. And you can't have negative scale, and it just makes it the same thing, really. But mirrored. It's like an anti-sphere, if you're a physics nerd like me. Here's a sphere, here's an anti-sphere. Oh my god. The planes hold one dimension fixed and move the other two. Again, the cubes here just do 1, and the middle cube does all 3. So play around with that. And now here's the rotate tool finally. We can rotate along this axis, and this axis. I'm going to delete this, or I'm going to delete the sphere, yeah, let's delete the sphere. Let's create one of each object now. Here's a sphere, and we're going to move it to this quadrant of the grid, like so. Let's create a cube. We're going to move it over here. You should be doing this too, by the way. I'm going to create a cylinder. I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to create a cone. We're going to leave that in the middle. We're going to create a plane. We're going to move that over here. We're going to create a torus. And here's where the fun begins. So if you can successfully sphere the torus on the cone, you win. So to successfully sphere this torus, we need to scale the cone up. So we're going to go to scale mode, click on the Y-axis scaler, scale like that. Then we're going to move it up so it's right on the plane. Then we can change our view, and look at that. We have skewered the donut, or the torus, if you want to have the mathematically correct term. But really it's a donut for us humans here. So here we go. That's a very like 1980s computer animations is pretty much all you could do back then, was render basic shapes. And this is where it all begins. Even nowadays it begins with something like this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You learned how to thoroughly skewer a donut with a cone. Very mildly erotic, if you ask me. And like, subscribe, comment. Moop Online, the golden standard of game design. Thank you. Ciao.